Now, the reason I wanted to kind of tail off on this before I go into my into the savage perspective for the night uh, is because the art of warfare and pugilism, particularly when it's hand to hand and when it's not high technology and when it's not uh, people playing video games and flying missiles through windows uh, thousands of miles away, right? Um, Ignites the passions. And I guess at that time, the Trojan War, with its fleets of all the assembled Greeks versus Asia Minor, was one of those things like World War One was for us. It's like everybody that we know is going to fight because of this one thing. Um, so all the advances of war technology up to that point were loaded up and transported to one specific location for a specific reason. Um, it was a much more brutal world, and there was not much room for things like identity politics. One of my favorite lines from Troy is delivered, the movie Troy is delivered by Brad Pitt, and he says, "There are no pacts between men and lions." And that's a certain type of thinking. Okay. Society as it's structured now, and all of the happenings and goings on with defunding the police and Black Lives Matter and all that shit, all the woke world after all shit that we just saw in that last video, um, is designed to remove that. Okay, now I was talking about the soy boys who need to call real men out to do this and that, because they're trying to get you to surrender that aspect of yourself if you're a man and you're listening to this. Being a capable man, being a masculine man, is not a very popular thing to be right now, particularly if you're white and middle aged. You know, the throes of racism, and people will call it reverse racism, but I don't think there is such thing as reverse racism. There's just racism, period. If you are at all against anybody because of the color of their skin or their creed or their national origin or what have you, then that's being bigoted. That's being a racist. You know, there are excuses in mass media for why it's okay to be racist towards white males, middle-aged white males in particular. But that's all, just like the thumbnail said in tonight's podcast, made up bullshit. Okay. I guess I'm going to sum it up with this story. Okay. Let's go ahead and kill that article. We're going to sum it up with the story. I'm a martial artist, and my brother is a martial artist as well. We studied two different disciplines, both rooted in Chinese martial arts, but different philosophies. Okay. And we happened to have a discussion about some YouTube videos that we saw where there was a shyster master, right? And to call them a master, that's just something in air quotes that I'm saying right now. There was a shisty master who was going up trying to sell memberships to his fucking dojo. Okay, the Chinese don't have dojos; they have kwans or kuns, depending on how you pronounce that shit. But that equates to a dojo. Okay, and this particular master was selling like energy attacks, like, you can punch or kick me, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna zap you and you're gonna fall. And he gathered a few students. He gathered enough students to provide himself with a comfortable lifestyle. And these students would swear up and down that when he put up his hands, they felt his bzz, and then their fucking nervous system was interrupted and they fell to the ground. And drooled and dribbled and possibly shat their pants slightly. Until one day a Western boxer walked in and he's saying, so you're saying that if I come at you with my pugilistic technique, that your energy force is going to be able to knock me out or disable me before I can throw a punch? And the shyster said yes. So he said, okay, put your hands up, put your money where your mouth is. Okay. So he's dancing around, he's doing his thing, and the boxer starts, throwing a couple of punches, which the master used traditional martial arts to sort of deflect some of it. But when he goes to start doing his, force lightning or whatever the fuck he thinks he's doing, it's not affecting the boxer, and the boxer doesn't knock him out cold, but he knocks him to the fucking floor enough to prove his point. And then he's like, yeah, you're full of shit. And he walks off. And then inevitably the followers of the master rush to his side to pick him up. Holy shit, master, are you okay? What the hell happened? What's going on? And the master had some sort of like, well, and the only thing that can defeat this type of martial arts, he must have had his tongue curled to his soft palate, which connects a specific chi circuit, which nullifies this, particular technique that I was using. There's other techniques, but this particular technique, which is all fucking bullshit. But why was it real in the minds of his students? And why wasn't it real in the mind of the boxer? Well, that's exactly what it is. The students made the master powerful in their own minds. So when the master used his techniques, because the students had given the master that power, they were affected by his technique. But the boxer did not give the master that power in his own mind. So that technique was useless against him. The only thing that works against the boxer is boxing him back. Either outboxing him or make him unable to box. And it's the same thing with this social engineering thing, okay, which is what this all boils down to. Now, I'm covering this from the entertainment angle, but like I pointed out earlier, it's happening in the medical industry, it's happening in politics, and it's happening in traditional media. The only way that they can convince you that you're bad or nasty or misogynist or hateful or whatever is if you give them that power. If you allow them to tell you who you are, then you are capitulating to that lifestyle. If you feel like you have to go out of your way to explain or defend who the fuck you are or why the fuck you do what you do, then you have given them that power. But I am saying that there is a different path. You can be savage. You can be spiritual in your own way. Stand your fucking ground and be who the fuck you are. Do not do things simply because other people tell you. You must evaluate every piece of information coming into your head, including this. You must weigh it against what you understand and have lived and walked through, and weigh that against the type of person that you could possibly become. Should you or should you not follow their idea or incorporate their idea into your current philosophy? Because your future is at stake. Everything that flows forth in your experience starts with your decision about who you are and what you're about. And if you make the media and all that shit so real in your head that you have to, make up a logo and call yourself something, then you better believe what the fuck you're saying and walk righteously through life. Okay. Now maybe the fucking Greeks as conquerors didn't intend that, but the fact that callback in history, okay, for centuries, people did not know for sure whether the Trojan War was an actual event or whether it was just like a historical drama. Like we could say the Infinity War, the same thing about that. Like, well, if the record is lost and people found these stories thousands of years later, like, oh my God, the Infinity War and Thanos and the Infinity Stones, but most likely the Trojan War did happen. The Trojan horse was a real thing. And it's just simply the record that was passed down to us was embellished, and the conquering nation always creates the history. So if at the time the Iliad was penned, polytheism was central to an individual experience, then that's how they would have processed the world, and then that's how they would have recorded their thing. And Homer was a poet too, so he had like syllables and spaces and all the shit he had to fill up and create poetic, entertaining language. Most likely he had heard the story and just penned it himself. But that's the thing, and that's exactly why pop culture is under attack by the social engineers, as it were. If they can control the mythos, if they can tell you who these characters are and what motivates them to do the things that they do, then they know that people are going to be more likely to emulate those characters or to steer away from characters who do not resonate as the good guy, So just let that rattle around inside your head. Want to go ahead and acknowledge the chat here. We got Black Angus coming up. What's up, Black Angus? We got the Ancient One. What is happening? We got Tim Motherfucking Possible, the latest Black Angusineer. And Tommy the Guinea Pig Collective. I appreciate you guys coming out to the broadcast. Make sure you share the podcast. Check out my new video. It just came out yesterday. And join me next week as we get savage and spiritual. I'd like to raise the glass one last time, saying the toast, here is to us what is like us, not a goddamn thing.